Alright guys, so we are back in the Copart 340i for another video, and I've probably almost completely used up my time calling the car the Copart 340i, but that is the truth, right? I bought this car from Copart. As of filming this video, it's actually been a year since I bought this car, and of course I've made a bunch of videos on the channel about it, but since posting those videos, a lot of people have asked me different questions like, was it worth it? Should they go that route? You know, what kind of things should they consider? And when I look back at some of the videos that I've made, I do feel like it might give a little bit of an inaccurate representation of, you know, the challenges that I faced when I tried to buy the car, how much risk I took on by buying the car, and things like that. So I just wanted to make this video to kind of address some of those concerns and things to help you guys understand if this is a route you should go down if you're actually considering it. So hopefully you guys find this video useful.
Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future.
So real quick, I know I've talked about this multiple times in the past, but for everybody that's new, I bought this car specifically as a project car for the channel. I was looking for something to do R&D with, you know, do a bunch of DIYs. And of course, I also have a 440i that's big turbo, a bunch of supporting mods. And I just wanted something a little bit more simple because now a lot more mods are available to make these cars quick, really easy. And those mods weren't available when I first started building my 440i. So this allowed me to have the opportunity to have a daily driver, kind of dual purpose car, and redo that build, you know, kind of live out what it would look like if I bought a B58 today. Now, I had this idea a while back that I wanted to buy a car for this purpose, but I didn't want to spend the money that the market was asking for a clean 340i. So in my mind, I was thinking I wanted to buy one from Copart that had some damage and I could fix it up and then have, you know, a good condition 340i for cheap, you know, something good enough for this kind of project build. So this is probably the first point I want to make if you guys are considering buying a car from Copart, is just understand the limitations that you have and understand what you actually plan on doing with the car. You know, if you're going to flip it or, you know, fix it up and daily drive it, whatever that might be, make sure you have a good understanding of that so that you can gauge what the right car is for your purpose. Now, I got a reality check because I went into this really excited, and as I started looking through cars, that really started resonating with me. I saw a lot of cars with front end damage, and in my mind, if the side of it was tweaked or something, and even after I got it repaired, it wasn't 100% straight, if I'm doing something simple like, you know, putting on an intake, it's not going to work. You know, clips won't line up or something can be wrong, and that'll ruin, you know, what I can do with this car, especially stuff in the engine bay where most of my mods end up. So I stopped looking at cars with front end damage. Then I saw some cars with side damage, and that was when I really got nervous, because if a car is getting totaled out for side damage, they're estimating that the repairs are going to cost more than the cost of the vehicle. So I'm thinking I'm going to sign up for something that's, you know, way above how much I want to spend on the car. The whole point is to get something that's a good value. So at that point, I stopped looking at those as well. So then I started looking at cars with rear end damage, but unfortunately, most of the cars with rear end damage were like Grand Coupes and convertibles, and I can't imagine what kind of cost it would take to repair a car like that. I mean, obviously the trunks on those cars have a lot more hardware, electronics, risk of leaks and things like that. So again, I just started coming up short-handed. It didn't seem like a great opportunity anymore until I saw this car. This car was actually put on there by an owner because it had engine damage and they basically didn't know how to move the car. And that ended up being perfect for me because, you know, despite however some of you might feel about my experience with the B58 or, you know, how capable I am, I feel comfortable driving a car and owning a car that might need a couple repairs because I know that I can fix it. I can gauge what's safe and what's not safe to drive on. And so that was kind of right up my alley. So that's how I landed on this car. Plus, it still had a clean title. So that meant that on the back end, I would still be able to get my money back. So I ended up buying this car, and that's when the second big risk came up that I had read about, but I think I probably didn't fully respect how big of a risk it was. So the financial cost of buying a car from Copart is much more than the sale price. Usually they estimate at least 10% on top of the sale price should be in your pocket and available to actually get the car. And there were a bunch of fees. I can't remember what they all were, but I'll list them on the screen so you guys can see. I mean, these are just standard fees with every single purchase. And then, of course, you've got to pay the taxes for your vehicle. So, yeah, they estimate, you know, if it's a $10,000 car, have an extra $1,000. If it's a $20,000 car, have an extra $2,000. That just helps make sure that it covers you in case of, you know, whatever those fees end up being. So, yeah, I had to pay $1,000+ over that. I had some storage fees as well because the car sat there for more than 24 or 48 hours, whatever that is. So yeah, bunch of extra fees there. That kind of sucked, but it is what it is. Now, the third thing that you should consider is where the car is located. If you have the opportunity to buy a car that's relatively local to you and you can go and pick it up yourself, that is a huge advantage in saving costs. I actually bought this car from Arizona and I live in Ohio. So I had to basically have the car shipped here. A bunch of people told me, you know, I should have just went and picked it up or I should have driven it here. But of course I didn't know the engine condition. Like I didn't ever get a chance to put eyes on the car myself. And I wasn't going to go and pick it up because I don't have a trailer or anything like that. So that was another $1,000+ just to get the car in my actual possession. So again, just think about it. Make sure you've got this in the back of your mind. You know, that could be another 5% added onto the cost to actually get the vehicle in your possession. And it's just frustrating when these costs start adding up and you haven't even gotten the keys for the car yet, but it is what it is. So finally, I got the car here. Of course, the shipping company was shady. They tried to raise the price at the last minute because they said they had some difficulty getting the car and it was my fault, so I owed them more money. That was a huge hassle in itself, but I finally got the car. And then when I started digging into it, you guys saw the initial videos. I couldn't find anything wrong with it. Did a compression test, leak down test, everything that I could to just run diagnostics on the engine, and it seemed fine. I daily drove it for a little while on the stock tune, and then I ended up flashing MHD stage 1, tried to run some logs, and it started breaking up again. And that's when the headaches really started. And I guess this is the next step. Just have a backup plan. Understand what you're going to do if it's not as simple as you think. Because I really thought I stole this car at first when I was driving it and it was fine. It wasn't really smoking, having any issues. But when I put the tune on the car, the issues came back. And the previous owner had like a big turbo setup on it. The owner before the previous owner had nitrous on it. So I know they pushed the car really hard. And if they were having issues, it was definitely making more power than stock. So it seemed like when I was driving it on the stock tune, it just was masking the issues that came up when I added more power. So that got really frustrating, but eventually I did the PCV delete, the valve cover. I replaced all the coil packs and the O2 sensors, and I plugged the head port. So I ended up doing all of that over a couple months until I finally got the car 100%. And now it's on a stage 1 tune. Drives great, no breaking up. I can floor it whenever I need to. Awesome. I'm very happy with it now. But yeah, just have a backup plan. Even if you're a body shop guy or, you know, million-year super experienced ultra pro BMW certified technician, just understand sometimes it's not as simple as it might seem. Luckily, I avoided completely having to replace the engine, but it still was just a bigger headache than I anticipated. Now, the last thing, and the one that literally just recently got resolved, is make sure you understand your state's tax situation. And this is something I didn't read about anywhere, and I've bought so many cars from dealerships and stuff that I didn't suspect that this could even be an issue. But when I bought the car from Copart, like I said, you pay taxes. That's one of the fees that you pay to get your car. When I brought it to my local BMV, they did not accept the Copart bill of sale as proof that I paid my taxes. Since it wasn't an authorized dealership, it was the equivalent of buying it from like a private party. So at least here in Ohio, a bill of sale from a junkyard or from Copart is not enough evidence that you've paid your taxes. When I tried to get evidence from them, of course, by that time it had been several months. They didn't have the right paperwork, or it had been past the 90-day, allowable period, whatever the case may be. So I had to pay taxes again on this car in order to actually drive it on the road and, get my tags and everything set up for it. Luckily, I was able to afford it, so it didn't mean like the car was going to be sitting for a while or anything. But I basically had to pay the taxes twice and then submit evidence to the state tax, person for them to review it and determine if I was owed a refund. Now, like I said, thankfully, this just recently got resolved about a week ago. I got my check in the mail and they did approve the refund on the taxes that I paid the second time. So thankfully that worked its way out. But when I actually submitted the request, they told me that they didn't know how long it was going to take to approve it. They couldn't give me any updates. They said it might take 9 to 12 months because of how much work they had going through their request system, blah, blah, blah. So it just seemed like it was going to be a huge headache. So again, just make sure you understand your state's tax situation, how they treat, buying a car from Copart, and just in general what you need to do, because you don't want to end up in that situation where you pay the taxes twice. So yeah, thankfully I was able to get that resolved, but that's a little FYI for anybody that's considering buying a car, especially out of state. And yeah, ultimately, I've got the car. It's in good condition now. I'm already testing some different parts. I've posted several DIYs on the channel, and I have more plans in the works. I have actually scheduled my first track day with the car, so I'll be taking it to an HPD at a road course that's relatively local to me. So stick around for more footage on that. Of course, we'll be trying out different things at the track, testing my times, and seeing how far I can push this platform, because a little birdie told me that only M3s actually go to the track. So we'll see if a 340i just completely blows up after the first turn. But yeah, I'm really excited with my plans with this car for the summer. Things are warming up and I've got plenty of content in store. So thank you again to everybody that has been supporting the channel and supporting my builds. It really does mean the world to me to make this stuff possible, and I can't wait to bring more content to you guys. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below. Alright guys, so we are back in the 340i for another video, and today Alright guys, so we are back in the Copart 340i for another video, and I've probably almost completely used up